What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to discuss workouts of the day, or WODs, and the title of this video will be called, I said that really fast. The title of this video will be called WOD or WTF. How creative, I know. The basic premise of these workouts is that somebody writes a random workout of the day on a whiteboard. You see them all the time in gyms, particularly CrossFit gyms. I'm not knocking CrossFit, I'm not knocking anyone who writes workouts on their whiteboard. You can do whatever you like. I'm just going to point out some critiques I could make with just a random workout every single day. So, I guess a positive to these random workouts is that no matter how crap the workout is, I mean, not how crap, but in general, there is almost always, a benefit to performing any sort of physical activity, especially from like a blood lipid profile perspective. However, the lack of an intricate system and progression scheme does make the random workouts of the day an ineffective method or means of long-term and chronic progression. I like to think about it as of like a where do you go from there scenario. So, let's say you put a random workout of the day, and usually they're quite intense, like 4 million burpees, superset with like 50 chin-ups, and it's just like ludicrous stuff, you know. And it also assumes that like every single person that ever walked through the gym is going to be able to do that whiteboard workout. Well, exercise programming is a little more specific and individualized than that. That being said, like I've said before in the past, that I've totally stolen from a bunch of other way smarter people who've said this than me. Unfortunately, I can't remember who said it, but the scientific principles of strength training apply to like everyone. That's why they're principles. But it's the manipulation in these short-term variables that makes them individual. So, like, exercise selection is a big one. Not everyone can do everything, and I've even manipulating certain exercises to fit other people. Like, let's say they were to do burpees, I've discussed how to do burpees better in other videos, but it's definitely not like they usually are in some random sweaty whiteboard workout. That being said, exercise should make you sweaty, or not should all the time, but for the most part, it's not bad if you sweat. I just usually use that as an example of just because it makes you sweat doesn't mean that you are progressing. So now that we've covered up that tangent, again, progressions, like where do you go from there? Let's say on the first crazy whiteboard workout, you do a back squat. What are you gonna come in and do in the next week or month, etc.? If you just keep doing these random workouts, there is no inbuilt progression scheme, and thus you will have nowhere to go. You just won't make the progress you are looking to make because you just keep having to do this random workout without any meaningful and relevant progression based on the outcomes and goals that you've set yourself and you're looking for. Another key issue wrong with these random workouts is that there is a motor learning adaptation to every exercise you ever do. And if you have to keep relearning random exercises because of random workouts every single day, you will never actually progress on these lifts, and thus, again, because long-term progression is key here, you will never actually progress long-term, as I've been saying. So there's quite a high motor learning adaptation to exercises, meaning, well, not always high, but it depends on the difficulty of the exercise. And this means that WODs are really not useful for beginners. You can't really get a beginner in and just keep changing the workout on them every single day. It's probably not a good idea. You could do different workouts every day as part of someone's microcycle, but the next week they should come back and do the same workout. And they should probably do that for an extended period of time until they plateau or master the movement patterns, get bored, etc. There are a variety of reasons to change workouts up, and I've discussed that in other videos and articles. My biggest issue with all this is that what is the long-term outcome? Like, what are you trying to do here? You just wrote this random workout and put it on a whiteboard, and if you just want to get really sweaty, that's fantastic, but where are you going to go from there? So you've put all these exercises on a whiteboard, and you're like, yeah, time to kill it. Woo! That's all well and good. And like I said, I'm not knocking that. There are so many benefits to just doing that and doing random workouts. But if you're looking for long-term adherence and long-term progression and a systemized exercise intervention, it's really just not going to cut it. I guess you could say it would work for fat loss and maybe muscle gain acutely, but like I said, without an inbuilt progression scheme, you're really not going to get much out of it, because once you plateau, what are you going to do? Do more random stuff. just doesn't work like that, you know? You do need a system in place in order to continue to progress. You need to know what you did a few months back to know what you need to do today, tomorrow, and then, you know, in future. Like, what did you do 6 months ago that you're not doing now, or what can you do in order to progress from what you did 6 months ago? These are very general, like I'm talking very general here, like I'm not giving any numbers and stuff on what you need to do and percentage this or whatever, but in general, if, let's use hypertrophy for an example, like muscle gain, because everyone sort of understands like what muscle gain is and what it is and what it doesn't do and what it does do or whatever, I'm waffling. You need to like get stronger long term. You don't have to be stronger tomorrow, but there needs to be some sort of strength gain, and primarily you need to be able to do more volume over the course of your training career. But this is very long term. Just make sure that there is a long term increase in overall work done, so we won't even use the term volume, over the course of your training career. And if you're doing these random, just all over the shop workouts, there is no quantitative objective measure for you to go from. Usually you probably just wipe the whiteboard out and you just do some random workout the next time you come in. Like I said in the Marmina cast, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was deleting my old training programs. Do not do that. Just email them to yourself, save them on your computer, store them on your iPhone in iCloud. Just don't delete them, because you need to know what you were doing previously in order to progress on that. I'm going to conclude by just asking you a question. Why are you doing these workouts? What long-term outcome are you looking for? Don't just think you want to lose 6 kilos in 6 weeks, because again, it's not how it works. It's not a consistent, adherable, again, a word that I totally made up, behavior change. If you're just, like, in 6 weeks, what are you going to do after that? And if you come in with these random whiteboard workouts, what are you going to do in 6 months? You're going to keep writing random whiteboard workouts? It's just not an effective means of long-term progression. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll speak to you in the next video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Ta-ta for now.